You will not believe what happens to the girl at the end. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can continue writing stories like this one. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. In the 1800s, life on the frontier was filled with both hopes and hardships. Pioneer women played a crucial role in settling the wide-open lands of America. They were strong and resilient, facing challenges that would test even the toughest individuals. The journey westward was not just an adventure, it was a battle against nature and the unknown. One of the most daunting aspects of pioneer life was the harsh weather. Women often dealt with scorching heat during the day and freezing temperatures at night. Sandstorms could whip through their camps, making it difficult to see or breathe. Rain could turn dirt trails into mud, slowing down their progress and making travel nearly impossible. They had to protect their families from these elements while still caring for children and cooking meals over open fires. In addition to battling the weather, pioneer women faced tough living conditions. They traveled in covered wagons, which provided little comfort. The wagons limited space, forcing families to pack only essential items. This meant that women often had to make do with what little they brought along, whether it was food or clothing. They learned to be resourceful, turning scraps into meals and using every available material to create makeshift homes once they reached their destinations. Health issues were another constant worry. With limited access to medical care, small injuries or illnesses could lead to serious complications. There were many dangers along the way, including wild animals and treacherous terrain. Each day brought new risks that could threaten the survival of families in such uncertain conditions. Despite these struggles, pioneer women showed incredible courage and determination. They formed tight-knit communities with other settlers, sharing resources and supporting one another through hardships. Their spirits remained high as they nurtured dreams of a better future in a new land filled with possibilities. Yet, even with all this bravery, some women found themselves in desperate situations when faced with illness or injury. As we will see later in this story, one tragic event would separate 3 brave women from those they called neighbors, leaving them behind when help was needed most. This decision would change everything for them in ways no one could foresee. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, a wagon party set off on their journey westward, filled with a mix of excitement and hope. Families piled into their covered wagons, each one bursting with dreams of a better life in the vast, uncharted lands ahead. The smell of fresh bread baked that morning wafted through the air as children waved goodbye to their old lives, ready to embrace the adventures that awaited them. The road was long and winding, with towering mountains in the distance and sprawling plains stretching out like a patchwork quilt. Laughter echoed among the children as they played games while riding alongside their parents. The thrill of discovery was palpable. Every hill and valley held the promise of new beginnings. Yet, beneath this excitement lay the ever-present shadow of danger that loomed over their expedition. As days turned into weeks, the challenges of frontier life began to reveal themselves. Dust storms whipped across the plains, making it hard to see and even harder to breathe. The blazing sun beat down mercilessly during the day, while chilly nights left families shivering under thin blankets. Each night was filled with the sounds of crickets and wolves howling in the distance, reminding them that they were not alone in these wild lands. Traveling in covered wagons meant limited space, forcing families to make tough choices about what to bring along. The weight of supplies was a constant concern, as every extra item could slow them down or make the journey more exhausting. Women often felt torn between packing cherished belongings and ensuring they had enough food and tools for survival. Resourcefulness became essential, with families sharing what little they had as they moved forward together. Yet, alongside these physical dangers, there were hidden threats that loomed larger than any storm or rocky terrain. Illness could spread quickly within the cramped quarters of a wagon. With limited medical knowledge and supplies, even a small ailment could escalate into something grave. As they pressed on, determination fueled their spirits, but they also knew that peril lurked around every corner. The wagon party forged ahead, united by their dreams but unaware that their journey would soon take an unexpected turn, one that would test their bonds and resolve in ways they could never imagine. As the wagon party continued their arduous trek westward, a shadow began to creep over their hopes. It started with a few faint coughs and complaints of stomach aches, but soon those minor symptoms escalated into something much more frightening. Cholera, a deadly illness caused by contaminated water and improper sanitation, infiltrated their ranks. At first, the families dismissed the early signs of sickness, reassuring themselves that it was just fatigue from the journey. However, as the days passed and more members fell ill, panic rippled through the camp like wildfire. Those struck by cholera experienced severe diarrhea and vomiting, leading to rapid dehydration. With limited access to clean water and ever-present struggle on the trail, the chances of recovery diminished with each passing hour. The once lively laughter of children faded into hushed whispers and worried glances as mothers busily cared for their loved ones. Tent after tent became makeshift sickbays where women huddled over their feverish children or elderly relatives. The sight was heart-wrenching. Women who had stood tall just days before now looked worn and helpless as they soothed their suffering family members. As fear spread faster than the disease itself, some healthy individuals began to panic. They were terrified that they too might contract cholera if they stayed close to the infected. Whispers of abandonment circulated within the camp as families weighed the risk of leaving behind those too weak to travel. With hearts heavy with dread and confusion, decisions had to be made. Desperation lingered in the air as fathers gathered around campfires, discussing what could be done. Should they push on despite their weakened numbers or remain with the sick? Tension brewed among families, torn between loyalty and survival instincts. Each moment felt like an eternity. Ultimately, in a cruel twist of fate, some determined travelers began to distance themselves from those who succumbed to the illness. In an attempt to save themselves, they made the heart-wrenching choice to ride on without those who needed them most. This painful decision would lead to profound consequences that none could foresee as their journey continued down uncertain paths. The bonds forged through shared hardship were tested like never before under this grave threat. The atmosphere in the wagon camp grew heavy with despair as cholera continued to ravage the families traveling west. Among the stricken were 3 women, mothers and sisters who had once been vibrant and full of life. Now they lay weak and feverish, unable to continue the journey. As their loved ones cared for them, a grim realization began to settle over the group. Survival was not guaranteed for everyone. Around the campfire one bleak evening, a meeting took place among the healthier members of the party. Voices were low, filled with dread as they confronted the harsh reality they faced. With dwindling supplies and increasing illness, each family knew that their time was running out. The well-being of those who were still standing weighed heavily on their hearts. Could they risk dragging ill members along when every hour counted? As discussions spiraled into arguments, fear turned into tough choices. Some argued for compassion, insisting that they must stay together despite the risks. Others pleaded for urgency, fearing that waiting would only lead to more infections within their ranks. The notion of leaving behind those too weak to travel hung in the air like a storm cloud, fraught with emotion. Ultimately, overwhelmed by fear and necessity, they made the heartbreaking decision to abandon the 3 women. As they prepared to leave, a deep silence enveloped them, a stark contrast to the laughter of days gone by. Families clutched their loved ones one last time, tears streaming down faces that once wore hope and excitement. Promises were made in whispers, "We'll come back," or "We'll send help." But deep down, each person feared those words might never become reality. For the abandoned women, this moment of separation was shattering. They felt betrayal coursing through their veins, a mix of disbelief and despair as they watched their companions pull away in wagons filled with supplies meant for survival. Loneliness settled into their hearts like a chilling fog. They were left behind not just by companions but by a community that had once shared dreams and burdens alike. This choice would haunt those who left as much as it haunted those who remained, bonds forged through shared struggle frayed at a moment when unity was desperately needed. Abandonment became not just a physical act but an emotional wound that left scars no one could foresee, an echoing reminder of what it truly means to navigate life on the unforgiving frontier. As the sounds of the wagon party faded into the distance, the 3 abandoned women lay in a state of despair, unaware that fate had other plans for them. Not far from where they were left behind, a group of Lakota scouts roamed the vast wilderness, skilled trackers with an extensive knowledge of their land. They moved silently through the tall grasses and amongst the towering pines, with eyes sharp and senses attuned to the rhythms of nature. These scouts were more than just hunters. They were wise survivors who had navigated treacherous terrains and harsh climates for generations. They understood the delicate balance of life in their environment, knowing which plants were safe to consume and how to find clean water in the most unlikeliest of places. Their expertise extended beyond survival. They carried rich stories of their ancestors, ensuring that history breathed alongside them as they traversed the landscape. One fateful afternoon, while scouting for game, a sharp-eyed scout noticed something unusual, the remnants of a once active camp now abandoned and eerily quiet. The telltale signs, a discarded cooking pot, scattered belongings, and most tellingly, footprints leading away, spurred his curiosity further. Conspicuously close to those reminders of community were signs of sickness, fabric stained by unwellness among some belongings. Upon careful examination, he caught a lingering scent in the air that confirmed his suspicions. It was fear mingled with despair. Instinctively feeling a pull to investigate further, he led his companions toward where he felt life remained hidden among shadows. As they approached cautiously, they spotted 3 women lying weakly under a small tree, burning with fever and vulnerability. Without hesitation and driven by compassion, the Lakota scouts quickly sprung into action. With respect for their surroundings and deep knowledge of natural remedies, the scouts gathered cedar branches from nearby trees. Cedar smoke had long been recognized for its purifying qualities. It could heal both wounds and woes. As they set up an area around the women, soft chants filled the air, the songs woven into their culture meant to soothe spirits and heal injuries beyond physical ailments. As gentle hands tended to their bodies with attentive care while simultaneously whispering words of hope into their hearts, an unexpected bond began to form between these 2 very different worlds. one society marked by abandonment and another grounded in deep connection and healing traditions. The women opened their eyes slowly as newfound strength surged within them. Little did they know this was not just survival but an awakening. A new chapter intertwined with compassion from unexpected allies who would change their fates forever. As the Lakota scouts gathered around the three abandoned women, they immediately set to work, drawing upon their deep cultural traditions to aid in healing. The first step was to create a space of safety and comfort where the women could feel protected and cared for. The scouts understood that healing was not just about addressing physical ailments, it also involved nurturing the spirit and providing emotional support. They began by gathering cedar branches, knowing that the fragrant smoke from this sacred tree carried powerful cleansing properties. Cedar has long been revered in Lakota culture for its ability to purify both body and mind. With careful hands, the scouts arranged the branches in a small fire pit, lighting them to produce a gentle plume of smoke. As the cedar burned, its warm scent filled the air, creating a soothing atmosphere that enveloped the women. While the smoke wafted around them, the scouts began to sing. The songs were not merely melodies, they were woven with meaning and intention, designed to uplift spirits and instill hope. Each note resonated with the rhythms of nature, echoing ancient wisdom passed down through generations. The words spoke of strength, healing, and connection to the earth, a reminder that even in the depths of despair, there was still beauty and light. As the women breathed in the cedar smoke and listened to the soothing songs, they felt a shift within themselves. The warmth of the smoke eased their feverish bodies while the melodies wrapped around their hearts like a comforting embrace. It was as if each note carried away some of their pain and fear, replacing it with a sense of belonging and love. The Lakota scouts moved with intention, using their knowledge of herbal remedies alongside the spiritual practices of cedar smoke and song. They prepared teas from local plants known for their healing properties, serving these warm concoctions to the women gently. The scouts explained what each plant could do, emphasizing how nature provided answers for those who sought them with respect and gratitude. As days passed, the abandoned women began to regain strength under the care of their newfound allies. The combination of traditional healing methods, cedar smoke cleansing their spirits and songs lifting their hearts, helped them transition from despair into resilience. These cultural practices not only addressed their physical ailments but also forged an unbreakable bond between two worlds, one marked by hardship and another grounded in compassion. Through this experience, the women learned that healing is multifaceted. It involves nurturing both body and spirit. They discovered that even amidst abandonment, kindness could bridge gaps between cultures and create profound connections that would last a lifetime. As the days turned into weeks, the three women began to feel a renewed sense of hope and strength under the care of the Lakota scouts. With each passing day, their bodies healed, but it was the emotional recovery that truly transformed their spirits. The isolation they had felt after being abandoned faded away as bonds formed with their rescuers, creating a tapestry of connection woven from shared experiences and mutual respect. The scouts took time to teach the women about their ways, introducing them to the rich traditions that shaped Lakota life. They shared stories around evening fires, tales of bravery and survival that resonated deeply with the women's own hardships. In turn, the women recounted their journey westward, sharing laughter and tears as they spoke of dreams once filled with promise but marred by despair. It became clear that both sides faced trials that shaped their identities. In this exchange, they found common ground. As part of their recovery process, the Lakota scouts involved the women in daily activities, gathering food, preparing meals, and learning how to navigate the land. The laughter of children echoed through the camp as the women played games with the scouts' young ones, bridging cultural divides through simple joys. Together, they danced under the starlit sky, embracing each other's customs while forging new memories. Through these experiences, the women learned valuable skills for survival in a world that had once seemed so foreign to them. They discovered how to identify medicinal plants and track animals by observing nature's signs. This knowledge instilled a sense of confidence and independence that had begun to wane during their sickness. The Lakota scouts admired their resilience and welcomed them as valued members of their community. Bonding over shared meals and laughter enriched both groups' lives. The women prepared traditional dishes using ingredients sourced from nature alongside their new friends, creating culinary fusions that celebrated both cultures. Sitting together at sunset with full bellies and happy hearts solidified an unspoken promise: they would look out for one another now and always. The experience was not just about healing, it was about building bridges between two very different worlds. As friendships deepened and trust blossomed, it became evident that these connections could transcend boundaries once thought insurmountable. For these women, and indeed for all involved, it was a transformative period, one where abandonment turned into acceptance and compassion flourished in unexpected places. Together they found strength amid adversity, a bond forged through struggle that would resonate for years to come. Months passed since the painful day the Homesteaders abandoned 3 women in a desperate fight for survival. The once lively camp was now filled with even harsher memories after the heart-wrenching decision to leave behind those too weak to continue. Meanwhile, in a nearby hidden valley, the three women thrived with the Lakota scouts who had embraced them. They had transformed from victims of abandonment into strong, capable individuals who had forged a new life filled with purpose. One morning, as the sun broke over the horizon, warming the earth with its golden rays, the sounds of wagons could be heard echoing through the valley. A group of homesteaders, weary and apprehensive, returned to where they had abandoned their companions so many months ago. They hoped to find signs of life but were met with haunting silence at first. Each creak of their wagons stirred up haunting memories of lost friends and unfulfilled promises. As they rounded a bend, shock set in as they spotted vibrant colors dancing amidst the trees, a community that had come together in harmony. The sight was surreal. There were the three women they thought they had left for dead, engaged in laughter and warm interactions with the Lakota scouts. They moved gracefully, embodying strength and resilience that contrasted sharply against their frail states when last seen. The homesteaders halted, disbelief washing over them. The women were thriving. Their faces glowed with health and vitality that came not just from physical healing but from newfound spirit and joy. Standing hand in hand with their Lakota friends, they noted green baskets of fresh fruits and shared stories around a lively fire. As recognition struck among the returning homesteaders, a wave of guilt crashed down upon them. Did they really think these women would perish? Faces that once showed despair were now radiating hope, an emotion lost during their own struggles, not long ago weighed down by illness. The contrast was stark. It was clear who truly embodied strength. The realization swept through the group like wildfire. Their decision to abandon these women was one they would carry forever. As they stepped forward hesitantly, asking forgiveness with hearts heavy with regret, what lay before them was not just an encounter but an opportunity for reconnection and redemption. The three women stood firmly amidst these familiar yet altered faces, embodying forgiveness and resilience, a testament to how deeply they had healed and transformed through love and kindness from unexpected allies. In that moment, both groups learned that true survival goes beyond mere existence. It thrives on community, understanding, and second chances. As the homesteaders stepped carefully into the clearing, an overwhelming wave of emotions crashed over them. Guilt washed over their hearts like a relentless tide, each heartbeat echoing memories of the day they turned their backs on those they had sworn to protect. Faces once filled with determination now displayed a haunting vulnerability, reflecting the burden of having abandoned three women who were left behind during a time of desperation. They glanced at the vibrant scene before them, women laughing joyfully and engaged in lively conversation with their Lakota friends. The sight was jarring as it sharply contrasted with the images that loomed in their minds, the frail figures barely clinging to life as fear and illness enveloped them. How could they have thought that these strong women would perish? The realization struck like a bolt of lightning. They had acted out of panic rather than compassion. One by one, homesteaders approached those they had left behind, their hearts heavy with a mix of admiration and regret. As they stood before the women, silence blanketed the atmosphere, a silence that spoke volumes about the weight of unspoken words. They could see resilience etched into each woman's face. It was a testament to survival through kindness and community that had flourished after their cruel abandonment. The leader of the group, his voice trembling under the weight of sorrow, finally broke the silence. We are truly sorry," he began, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Each word felt like a cry for redemption as he searched their faces for understanding. He continued, "We thought we were saving ourselves. We failed you when you needed us most." Those words hung in the air, both acknowledging past mistakes and yearning for forgiveness. The three women exchanged glances, a complex mix of emotions bubbling within them, as they considered their responses to these once-forsaken neighbors standing before them. Forgiveness mingled with pain, and awareness dawned within their hearts. They had survived against all odds but knew that true healing required more than personal strength. It also demanded connection and understanding. In that moment, one woman stepped forward, her voice steady yet soft. "We found new lives amidst sorrow," she said, "and it was through kindness shown by others that we learned to thrive." She paused, weighing her words carefully before continuing, "Forgiveness takes time. We too have faced our own struggles in this journey." As remorseful homesteaders listened intently, realization swept over them. A shared understanding began to weave invisible threads between two distinct worlds marked by pain yet intertwined through compassion. A flicker of hope ignited among them. Perhaps this exchange could serve as a path to reconciliation, one where togetherness could mend old wounds and build new bridges toward a future bound by unity rather than division. With hands outstretched and hearts entwined by shared experiences, both groups recognized that transformation stemmed from vulnerability. It lay not just in seeking mercy but also in forging meaningful connections across cultural lines. The journey of the abandoned women and their eventual reunion with the homesteaders highlights profound themes of survival and unity. In the face of adversity, each individual found a path through compassion, forging connections that transcended the boundaries of their different backgrounds. Their stories reflect the strength that arises not only from resilience but also from the kindness of others during moments of crisis. When the women were left behind, they were thrust into a world that challenged their will to live. However, the unexpected arrival of the Lakota Scouts transformed their struggle into a story of empowerment. The Scouts, with their deep understanding of nature and commitment to community, showed that true survival is not just about enduring hardship, it's about nurturing one another through shared wisdom and support. The warmth they offered allowed the abandoned women not only to heal physically but to regain their sense of identity. The return of the Homesteaders opened a new chapter filled with complex emotions surrounding guilt and forgiveness. As they confronted their past actions, they were reminded that compassion can grow from mistakes. This reconciliation demonstrated how wounds can be mended regardless of how deep or painful they once felt. It served as a poignant reminder that people are capable of profound change when given a second chance. Additionally, the bond between the women and their Lakota caretakers became a symbol of unexpected unity amidst turmoil. Cultures that historically might have been seen as divergent found common ground in shared experiences. Their lives forever altered by lessons learned in survival. Through storytelling and ritual, both groups began to weave together their histories, creating a tapestry rich with hope and understanding. Ultimately, this narrative serves as an illustration that even in times of great strife, when humanity's darker impulses emerge, there is always room for light. Healing blooms where compassion is sown, proving that these themes are essential for any society seeking cohesion in diversity. In these intersections of lives lived differently yet intertwined by fate and hardship, we see how peace and connection can flourish. As they reflect on their experiences, betrayal, recovery, growth, the characters understand that while individual strength is vital for resilience, collective empathy ultimately shapes communities forged anew through adversity. It is through these shared narratives of struggle and triumph that often greater legacies emerge, teaching future generations about compassion in unity, one story at a time.